an article on Pro Football Focus ranked the best offensive play callers in the NFL and had Shanahan at 4, which was too low for a lot of Niner fans and analysts. And he was ranked below Andy Reid, Kellen Moore of the Cowboys, and Byron Leftwich of the Bucs. He was ranked ahead of Sean McVay. Let's do our rankings.
Okay. Before we do our ranking, could I ask a question about some of those rankings?
Yeah.
And this was Pro Football Focus?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, look, I don't know much about Leftwich, but was he calling the plays?
It's a good question. Look, also, I mean, he's working with Tom Brady, who has a big influence, plus Bruce Arians was there. Also, Kellen Moore in Dallas, he's working under Mike McCarthy, who's been an offensive coordinator for decades. So you never really know what the division of labor is.
So I don't like that right away. I mean, it's sort of, we know that Kyle Shanahan calls the plays. We knew that Bill Walsh or Mariucci called the plays.
Right.
But I don't know anything about Pro Football Focus, but it seems they've gone into waters that are murky.
I agree. No question. And also with Dallas as well. Again, Kellen Moore is working with Mike McCarthy. Who knows who's doing the bulk of the game planning or if they're splitting it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we both agree that the best play caller in the league is Andy Reid?
Yeah. Even if he supposedly delegates some of it these days. I mean, he's been doing it for 25 years. He's gone to so many NFC Championship games with multiple quarterbacks. Yeah, he's won a Super Bowl. Yes. Andy Reid's number 1.
And I would add one other thing. He's really the only one in the league who still does the West Coast offense.
Yes. In the sense of he's a pass-first guy, but his whole thing is a pass is as good as a run. And it's a lot of screens. It's a lot of screens. I mean, probably the most creative and diverse set of screens in the league. And I think Bill would be proud of that.
Love it. Because Bill said his short passing was an extended handoff. That was his phrase, an extended handoff.
Reid has the best extended handoffs in the league. And what Reid has done is pretty much adapt the West Coast offense to the modern structure of offense, which is the shotgun. It's right. Often pass protection is terrible. You got to get the ball out quick. This is what the kids do in college. He adapted. Bill would have adapted.
Of course he would have. And Reid is in the Holmgren tree, right?
Yes.
So he got it from Bill.
Now Andy Reid has lost some Super Bowls and he's flopped, and he's lost a lot of Super Bowls. He won one, and that's important. I'm just saying, he won one.
He won a Super Bowl. There are coaches very close to home who haven't.
Right. So that's important because we're talking a lot about legacy right now with basketball and Steph Curry. There's a lot of legacy conversation. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Winning matters. It matters in basketball. It matters in football.
Right. The blot on Reid is that he hasn't won more often, and he should have.
Yes.
So still, I'm calling him the number 1 play caller. Who's your number 2?
I'm going to go with Sean McVay, the guy who just won the Super Bowl this year. I know he lost the Super Bowl. He's like 36 and he won a Super Bowl. He might have been one of the youngest guys to do it. He's a lot like, I mean, he inherited a lot of his scheme from the Shanahans, but I think he's a better big game play caller. I think when the pressure's on, he sticks to what he does well. I think he's learned from his mistakes better than the Shanahans have. And he's a champion at a very young age.
He's a very good choice. And he just won a Super Bowl. He would be number 3 for me.
Okay. Who's your number 2?
McDaniel.
Oh, he was number 3 for me. Okay, let's talk about it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So we have the same names, but in a different order. Mm-hmm. He's a winner as a play caller. And Iggy, you're going to, I don't remember these things. You're going to have to remind me what Super Bowl it was. They were playing New England.
Rams. The Rams.
It was the Rams. And nothing was working.
Right.
He called his offense to the sideline.
In the fourth quarter.
Said, in the fourth quarter, sweetie?
Yep.
Sweetie. I'm sorry, guys. I called him
Sweetie.
Sweetie.
It was legendary. Oh, it's okay. You can call me Sweetie.
Okay, Sweetie. So it's legendary. And he said, I'm paraphrasing. Obviously. Why don't you say what he said?
Well, I mean, usually you game plan for stuff and then you call it that week. What they game planned for didn't work. And he said, look, guys, I want to call something we haven't run in months. Do you remember it? And they did. It's a veteran team. They're really well coached. He went to a personnel package and a formation they hadn't used in months. It was basically 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, but totally spread out. So it looks like 5 wide receivers. But what you're trying to do is get their base defense, all the linebackers and defensive ends, and a lot of DBs off the field, and just isolate Julian Edelman against bigger players, linebackers, and it worked. And it led to the touchdown that won the game. So I don't. You could compare Kyle Shanahan to Josh McDaniels in terms of they're like what they've done in the regular season. At the crisis moment, McDaniels has come through multiple times, whereas Kyle has fallen short 3 times.
I want to come back to McDaniel. The way I heard that story before he introduced that package, he said, look, nothing's working. It's not working. We have to change everything right now. That took such courage.
Yes.
It took such courage. McVay, when he lost the Super Bowl, couldn't do it.
That's right. 3 points.
But this guy, he made himself vulnerable.
That's true.
What I called isn't working. Let's do this.
That's great, because you know what most coaches do? You guys got to execute.
Yeah.
The plan works. They didn't execute. No, the plan isn't working. I need a new plan right now, and I got to do it on the sideline. He did it under the most pressure you could imagine, and other people have it.
Iggy, what he was saying was, my plan isn't working.
I fucked up.
It's up to me. So I make him a number 2, and you know what? I agree with Sean McVay for number 3. Very close with Shanahan, and I bring Shanahan at 4. How about you?
Well, I mean, the fact that McDaniels beat McVay head-to-head in the Super Bowl is pretty good for your argument. So I don't know. Maybe McDaniels is number 2. Now, the only thing you would say with him is he had Brady for a long time. So let's see him win without Brady. He did very well with Mac Jones last year. Now he's got Derek Carr. We'll see. I mean, he's not done.
Sure. Right. It's a continuing story. We're in the middle of the novel. We're not in the final chapter.
To me, those are the top. That's the top tier of play callers. Sean Payton would have been in there as well, but he's retired for now. Now I think Kyle would be in the next tier, along with some other guys. But I think Kyle, I mean, he's been a runner-up a lot. I mean, he's gotten to 2nd and 3rd place a lot. He's had some very good seasons. But I kind of put him in the same category as the guy with the Bengals. I mean, that guy with the Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year and lost, just like Kyle did in his 3rd year. I think they're kind of similar.
Okay. This is my reading on Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
I do not consider him a great play caller.
Mm-hmm.
I consider him a great play designer. Mm-hmm. And I think those are 2 different issues. I think his game plan is fabulous. Mm-hmm. And I have seen him in games go on a roll where you can't stop what he's doing. Mm-hmm. But you use the phrase crisis moment. And when we'd be in a press box, we would say, Dad, is this the crisis moment? I feel he's not particularly good at the crisis moment. Bill was, just a minute, guy. Bill excelled at the crisis moment. He lived for it. I don't know about Kyle. And so great play caller comes beyond himself in the crisis moment. What do you want to say? You're salivating over there.
Well, you're being very nice. You know what you just said about Kyle in a very nice way.
Choker.
He's a joker.
Joker.
And that's fair, because people say it about Jimmy. Jimmy chokes. Mike McGlinchey in the crisis moment in the game is going to get beat. People say that about him. What about Kyle? And how is that not factored into the equation? When he's at the very end of a great season, he forgets. Here's how I put it. Most coaches, when they get to the crisis moment where they're up in the 4th quarter with the season on the line, they're going to say, I'm going to go to my best, my bread and butter, my best package. You know it's coming. But if I'm going to win or lose this season, it's going to come down to this or this player. And if you beat me, I'm going to tip my hat. Kyle's different. He's like, oh, okay. So we got 10 minutes left. We're up 10. You think I'm going to Debo? You think I'm going to run the ball? I'm going to throw to Jawan Jennings because you don't see it coming. And it's like, whoa, he's not ready for the moment. Debo's going to be the guy that takes you across the finish line. What's up? And he does it consistently.
I know. So if you choker is a very strong word, but we have seen him choke. And that's my problem with him. I put him number 4, and you might put him 4, 5, 6, something like that.
Yeah, okay. I put him 4. I mean, I don't see how you could put Matt LaFleur ahead of him. I mean, what has Matt LaFleur ever done?
Yeah.
With Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to repeat a story about Lowell and Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
1992 season at Stanford. He was very kind to me. He watched, they had beaten USC, and a week later we sat in a film room and watched the film, and he explained what he was doing. We just watched the offense, not the defense, what he was calling. And they were ahead, and at the end, they were just running and running and running. And like a schmuck, I said, Bill, how come you're running so much? And he looked at me and he said, that's football, Lowell. That's football. We had the lead. I wanted to expire the clock, and I didn't want to risk someone getting intercepted.
Right.
That's football.
That's football.
And with Kyle, he sort of outthinks himself. Yeah. He should hear Bill, who is more brilliant than he is, say, run the goddamn ball at the end, because that's football.
Yeah, I'm not trying. He wasn't trying to trick you. You're winning. You're the dominant team. Why are you trying to trick the other team?
Yeah.
Pour it on. Show your dominance. I mean, that's what Harbaugh liked to do. And one more thing, like a lot of people will defend Kyle and say, well, he hasn't had the quarterbacks that Andy Reid had. Andy Reid's had Patrick Mahomes and Donovan McNabb. McVay's had Stafford. McDaniels had Brady. Well, I just want to point out that Shanahan had Matt Ryan and still choked in the same way he had the biggest choke ever with Matt Ryan, who's a great quarterback, maybe a Hall of Famer, probably a Hall of Famer. So he could have John Elway. The question with Kyle still is, are you going to choke with the season on the line? Are you going to be calling plays for your number 3 receiver and your scat back? Like, what are you doing? Because he does. He does.
I got something to say about Donovan McNabb.
Go for it.
You gave him, props just now. I want to tell you what Bill Walsh said to me about Donovan McNabb. He said, I would never want him, Lowell. He's a different quarterback on every throw. Mm-hmm. Like in pitching, you have to have your release point and all that. Mm-hmm. And he said he has a different motion on every throw. I can't have a quarterback like that. That's what he thought about Donovan McNabb, a different quarterback on every throw.
Wow. Someone send it to Donovan McNabb. John Mitchell says, at Lowell, thank you for your insight that you give us, and happy late Father's Day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Rob Martin says, afternoon, Mr. Cohns. How do we feel about O-line's ability to successfully pass protect Trey? Tons of holding penalties from O-line last year during pass attempts. Remember when Young took over and McKittrick went to Walsh and said, my guys don't know where your quarterback is?
He was pissed.
Well, that's kind of what's going on here. Jimmy gets rid of the ball quickly. Trey likes to make a play, and offensive linemen have to adjust.
Yeah, it's something they're going to have to work out.
Because probably with Jimmy, they would think 1,000, 2, 1,000, and the ball's out. Now I'm done. With Trey, it's like it can go 4, 5, 6 seconds.
Yeah. Now with Steve had a tendency to want to run if things weren't good. And what they had to convince him is you're a thrower, not a runner. I know that. Right. And it was Steve who had to adjust, and he did.
The thing that I like about Lance is he's very inexperienced, and he doesn't have a lot of years of just running to win games. You can see in practice, he wants to throw the ball. He very rarely scrambles in practice. Kaepernick would scramble all the time in practice, which was kind of silly because, like, they can't touch you. What's the point? Well, shouldn't you just practice throwing? And NFL, I mean, some of the defensive players would laugh and be like, dude, we're here to see you throw, buddy. Lance doesn't do that. I think he has the right idea, the right mentality. But we'll see again. He's played 2 games. He's kind of a projection. Lorenzo says, hi, Grant. What if Trey puts 50 points or more in his first 3 games? What if Trey Lance I don't know. It's a great question, Lorenzo. What would you do?
What would I do? I would go on with my life.
Me too. What would you do, Lorenzo? I love when people ask what if questions. I don't know what to tell you. That would be amazing. Matthew Sanders says a generous reading of Kyle Shanahan could be that he puts too much faith in players that aren't ready for the spotlight late games. He sees Madden players, not people. Yeah, I mean, you're calling plays for your backups in crunch time. But does that mean that Kyle's not ready for the moment as well?
That's my question. He's supposed to know his personnel.
Supposed to know your personnel. All I know is when Sean McVay reached the crisis moment in the Super Bowl a few months ago, that was a close game. He wasn't calling plays for his number 3 receiver. He just called a lot of passes for Cooper Kupp and kept running the ball no matter what happened, and it worked.